Meine Damen und Herren, nochmal der Aufruf zum ersten Gastvortrag. Ich bitte Sie jetzt zur Bühne zu kommen, bringen Sie Ihr Getränk gerne mit. Wir beginnen jetzt mit dem Vortrag von Wastyn, Digital Transformation and Change Management. Kommen Sie gerne zu uns, wir starten jetzt. Meine Damen und Herren, ich darf jetzt Wastyn auf der Bühne begrüßen und wir freuen uns auf den ersten Gastvortrag des Tages. Bitte schön.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, hello. Good morning. I just heard from the organization that the booths that do not stop selling have to put something in the tombola tonight. So if you keep on going, you have to pay. Otherwise, the people can come forward. I don't know if you hear the sound from the back, but I do. It's like having somebody else talking to me. And I only have two voices in my head, so 100 more is more difficult. Can I please ask the people at the booths to close down their conversations, please? It's far more interesting up here, I hope. Anyway, maybe as a short introduction. My name is Wastyn. I'm the senior principal and founder of Great Management. And what we do is we help to create, to transform, and to support market leaders. And market leaders often look today at digital technology and how they can differentiate versus their competition. And that's why I have something to say about that. Now, the people that think that I'm going to give you a 10-step plan that you can write down and go home to the company and say, okay, I found a solution, that's not going to happen. So if that's the goal, you can go back to the booth and start buying something else. However, in the last 25 years, I've always been busy with digital transformation in some sort or another, before the term digital transformation even happened. So what I'll show you, what I'll talk about, is some of those things that I've done and seen, show you what I did and how it actually transformed the business, the tips and tricks that I've seen and the mistakes I've been seen making by other companies and by myself sometimes, and what I learned through certain formats and structures that might be interesting for you, okay? So if I start about introducing myself a little bit, if you look at my time scale, it's unbelievable, but I started in 95. It's 2017 now. My first company was a travel company. And in 95, there was no digital travel. You still had to go to the office and buy a ticket. Some people still wrote and printed out your airline tickets that you had to take, right? In the meantime, this company, Globe Events, has been bought by Sunweb. So the people that like cycling, you might remember the tool. Now, in 95, or the cyclist team. Now, in 95, there was no digital, but in 98, with the web integration being available, we made a strategic choice to actually start selling online. We were the first online booking tool in Belgium. Now, why did we do that? Because strategically, we were looking at a low-cost solution, so being operational excellent was very important, but also our customer base was very unique because we sold to students. And in that time, the only people in Belgium that everybody had an email address and access to the website were the universities. So there was a strategic interest in going digital for us, right? And so that was really enabling us to lower our cost and being closer with our audience. And in 3 years, we did 50% of our turnover digital. And I'm talking about 2000, 2001, right? So that's the first transformation. The second one was a company called Barco, and I know that people are here. So I hope they don't shoot me if I say this. But Barco is, and I love the company, is a market leader in digitalization. What I love about their intent is strategically, they always want to be number 1 or 2 in the market. They're looking at digital transformation, digital products and services to sell. Now, I was responsible for a market called digital cinema. People might know in the old days, they were still shipping big celluloid film to the cinemas, and the studios had to pay or buy 15, 20,000 reels of the same movie, ship it over by planes and boats, and it took a long time for that to happen. So they needed another operational way to distribute the movies. Now, Barco had a solution with some other technologies, and I was responsible to bring this product to the market. The interesting part about this change is that actually it was not only selling a digital projector, but there was a different distribution system from the Hollywood studios throughout the world. It was a different financing system, a digital transformation, a business model change, because the studios had to subsidize with a virtual print fee, the cinema owners had to buy the projector. So it was a very difficult transformation driven by digital products and services, the digital projector. After that, I joined a company called BCD Travel, also well known in Germany. BCD Travel I started in 2008, just right before the economic crisis. The first thing that happened when the economic crisis hit was everybody stopped traveling. Now at the time, the B2B travel agencies often work with a full service, white glove service to their customers. But because of the economic crisis, strategically, we needed to be more operationally efficient. And the online solution, web sales, allowed us to get closer contact to the customer, getting them a cheaper ticket price or a cheaper service price, and more flexibility for them doing the work and looking at more options themselves. So it was strategically important for our company, but it allowed us to, one, again, look at operational efficiency within the company, but also getting closer and understanding and offering services online that normally most of the travel agents wouldn't do. So again, a strategic choice with a operational excellent impact and a customer impact. GVN, and this will all make sense after, because these stories come back in the rest of my story. GVN was 2010 to 2014. Out of the digital cinema, out of the BCD Travel engagement with the travel industry, it was very clear that video conferencing was a need in the market. And if you think about it, the people that want to video conference are actually substituting travel, right? Because either you want to fly to Madrid or you want to have a video conferencing with Madrid. So the idea was, instead of selling a video conferencing unit, why wouldn't we let the travel agents sell video conferencing as a substitute to an airline ticket or a rail ticket or a hotel? So GVN focused on creating a whole new business model, including the online web tool, but also the integration to the supplier, the content, the Regises and the hotels that have the video conferencing rooms, and delivering that new technology through an existing business model, the travel agents. So it was a digital transformation from the product set, but also from the way that it was brought to the market. And then finally, some people might know me from here in the last 3 years, where I was VP Europe for Prism, which was digital collaboration. And digital transformation is actually a wider umbrella, as Jörg said, where video conferencing or unified conferencing, unified collaboration, and unified communication fits in. But that's only a part of the puzzle. Now, so you'll see that it is always a strategic intent, and then depending on your company, there might be different solutions. So that's why I say you won't get a 10-step plan, because I do not believe that there's one solution that fits all. Now, before I continue, I'd like to know a little bit more about the audience. Digital transformation, the definition I like, is that it is a change, hence the link with change management. Digital transformation is the change that occurs by applying digital technology in society. There's a couple of important things there. One, it occurs. You do not have a choice. Oh, too big. It occurs. It is out of your control. And you know what happened with the Neanderthals? If they didn't move to Homo sapiens, you die. I think it's very, very important to understand digital transformation will occur, and you have either the choice to get on board or be left behind. It is a change, hence the link with change management. People that are looking at digital transformation from, okay, I'm going to implement Skype, or I'm going to implement Hootsuite in marketing, or I'm going to do an ERP system from a technology perspective, without thinking about the change and the culture and the people involved, are going to fail, right? And of course, there's digital technology involved. Now, if I would ask you from this team, based on this, who believes that their company is currently in a digital transformation project? 1, 2, 3, one row. So one row out of 4, let's say 25%. Can I ask from this group that raised their hands, who's in IT? There's more IT people than that are digital transformation. So I'm going to assume that everybody here is IT, and I'll come back to that later. Now, on the other hand, you have change management. Now, change management is something different. Change management is actually the intentional, it's management. Most managers should intend to do something. It's not an accident. Change management is the intentional transformation from one state to another using budget and resources and tools and people, right? Now, I said intentional transformation. The link with digital is clear. It has to happen in order to make a transformation. People need to do it. Just by buying Salesforce, you are not going to get an operational efficient sales operations team. Just by buying Skype for Business, you're not just going to get an efficient team. Now, in your opinion, who thinks that their company is involved or using change management proactively to implement technology? Or do they just buy it and say you have to use it? One person. Two, three. Do I get to get three people? Not four, nobody? 4 people. So that's actually, I would say about 10% of it, of the people that are listening, at least. Anyway, what you will see obviously is there's a big disconnect, right? That means that those people that are thinking they are doing digital transformation, I can guarantee you, will fail. So sorry for the people that just raised their hand in transformation and didn't raise their hand for change, because that's really a problem. And I'll come back to that later. Now, the only thing I will give you, if it changes over, is an acronym. And if you don't forget, if you don't remember anything, this is what you can remember. SPAPMAS. SPAPMAS. You'll get this, you get to know what it is soon. First of all, this is the wrong color. Strategy. I firmly believe that any digital transformation has to come from the intent to get to a goal. Too many times, and think about your own company, how many times do you actually implement the technology because somebody in the team is really good with marketing and he has a social media entertainment and he found out Hootsuite or TweetDeck, and suddenly that becomes the norm. Not because the company decided that customer engagement was important, but because one dude that is the champion found a tool and now everybody has to use it. It was not intentional, it just grew organically, right? Now, if you look at strategy, I think, and how it links to digital, I think important to note is the following. And where does digital transformation fit within your, or digital strategy fit within your organization? Now, obviously, and I don't know if this is going to be big enough, but I'll make it bigger later. Any standard strategy starts with a pest analysis, political, economical, social, etc. You do maybe a Porter analysis with new entrants and substitutes and customers and suppliers. You maybe do a SWOT analysis of your competitors and a balanced scorecard with KPIs. And then you try to achieve your vision of the future, right? You have your vision of what the market is going to be like, and you have your 5 and 10-year mission statement and strategy. Right? Now, this is what most people do, and some forget the pest analysis, which I think is very important. Now, where does it fit to do the digital transformation strategy? If you look at it, this is the transformation process that you actually are going to go through from A to B. It is very, very, very important to define where you are and where you're going to go to. It's like somebody puts you in a car, blindfolds you, he drops you off and said, go. The first thing you're going to do is say, okay, where am I? Where is my car? And what's my destination? It makes perfect sense. Yet, too many times in digital transformation, people just start using tools without anything, right? Now, one of the things that is very interesting from a tool perspective is defining the scope of your digital project, right? And it starts, as I said, it starts with strategy. Strategy and leadership is the critical overlaying dimension that drives every digital transformation. Now, for different companies, different things will apply because you have three different strategic intents. You want to be customer engagement, customer intimacy. You want to be operational excellent, or you want to have product innovators, right? 3 different types of companies. Now, also in strategy, as you saw through my examples, you can say, okay, I want to, for instance, digital can help me, because I'm a customer intimate company, I can increase my customer engagement, right? And that could be, for instance, by having a website with a chatbot that follows you around, that gives you the right. Amazon, for instance, is a good one. Because based on your history, they will tell you what you probably will like. It increases the service, right? Another one is products and services. For the people that have product innovation, companies like Barco, they will focus on digital in their products and services offers. And then you have digital operations, people that have operational excellence. They're looking at how can I improve the efficiency of my organization. I like to split this up into supplier management, because that's an external relationship, just like customers are external. But many people see this as one. Digital operations, how, if I have somebody buying equipment, how can I connect my purchasing and my purchasing to my supplier's sales organization digitally to improve just in time? And obviously, last but not least, there's organization and learning. Because I can tell you one thing, your organization will have to change. The digital natives, the people that are now living today and have been raised with laptops and computers and Skype, will need to be allowed to take charge, and the people that have been there have to move along. One of the interesting things I recently heard was the following. For people that are 25 years experience and more, that's me, forget your experience. Don't teach the young kids anything you know, because anything you know is not longer relevant. You can guide them, you can mentor them, but you have to give them the freedom to do what they know the way they know how to do it now. Now, this model is an interesting one because it actually comes from Deloitte. It's called the Digital Maturity Spider. And so what they suggest you do, and you can go to Deloitte or you can fill in a questionnaire, it allows you actually to score on on these different elements, how good your company is on those 5 dimensions. But also, if you are a customer intimate company and you're not scoring well there digitally, it might flag and say, oh, wait a minute, if this is important to us, we need to focus on this element. What can we do digitally to talk better to our customers, right? Another interesting element is maturity, the maturity of your program. Now, I'll make it a little bit bigger. And I make clear a line over here. There's 6 steps of maturity. Some people say, well, actually, it's business as usual. We did this for 20 years. We've always done it like this. Anybody remember that phrase? We've always done it like this. People that do business as usual will die. The second phase of maturity is some people, pockets of experimentation. That's what mostly happens. People or companies sitting in this element. Some guy has a tool that he likes, and he starts using it, and then his colleague is using it, and then the department is using it. And so there were small pockets for different functions. These tools don't work together, but people are starting to experiment. But there's no managerial oversight, right? Then formalized is when marketing says, you know what? You like Hootsuite, I have another team in the States, some guy in China, we will all use Hootsuite. Still, not a strategic intent, but at least somebody saying, you know what? Instead of Hootsuite and TweetDeck, why don't we use the same tool? Now, all of this on the left side is what I call opportunists, right? People are doing it because it falls in their lap. Now, at least they're doing something, but you have to wonder, are they doing the right thing? Are they doing it fast enough? What is competition doing, right? And then finally, on the other side, you have where I think we really need to be, and this is where intent comes in. As I said, the intention to change. Strategic intent is the company says, okay, I did my analysis, where I am, where I want to go. I've identified my key differentiators, and I think we need to invest in certain tools, right? That's interesting. The converged approach is, okay, we are doing business as usual, but actually I need a team who is dedicated next to my core business today, who is looking at this from an intentional point of view, a dedicated, just like R&D looks at new products and is discoupled or not disconnected from operations because you don't want them to work together. There also can be a digital transformation team because they cannot only look at the technology, but they can also think about the change management involved on how they will actually implement it. And then finally, important, the whole organization is in constant flux. 500 BC, Heraclitus said, there is nothing permanent except change. That's 2,500 years ago, and he knew. Today, that's still the same thing. Today, the situation, society changes the whole time. An interesting thing that I found is an example on change management, if I have it somewhere here, I think. And this is interesting about how change management impacts your technology. This is a tool, it's an Office 365 numbers. Companies with more than 100 people, 60% of them have Skype for Business. That's amazing. That's an unbelievable success. But if you figure out how many people are using it, 10%. That means that on average, and there might be different, and that's the point. What is the difference between people that have 2%, 10% and 100% adoption? I'm going to tell you why. It is the ability to inflict or motivate change. And that's my next point. Because the example here, we had one company that I worked with when I went to Prism, or when I worked with Prism to look at change or to implement the technology. One company had about 10%, the other around the company had 100% adoption. You know what the difference was? They took away the phones. They did give them a super headset and they integrated with Outlook, but they created enough incentive to move. Because if you don't change anything in the status quo, people will not like to move anyway, right? And that's an important thing as far as maturity of strategy is concerned. Now moving to change management, and look at this as people, and how much time do I have left? Because I just want to make sure that I keep this going. People is for me the second biggest driver of digital transformation. Because without people, you cannot make any changes, right? And the reason is the following. People like the way where they are today because it is almost a reflex. Whatever they're doing, and it's a book called Fast Thinking, Slow Thinking, I advise you to read it. People that are used to doing something, even if it's more difficult than the new thing, right? Stay with the old because it's so ingrained in their movement that they're using some reflex behavior, right? And the new thing is they have to learn it from scratch. It's like if you have a car and you have to go to another car and the radio is different and the clutch is different and maybe the controls, it takes a while before you're as comfortable. And that's why people stay also very loyal to their cars because they know how it goes. And so change management, you need to create the incentive to move. There's two things you need for change. First of all, you need to give people something to hold on to. People need to know that whatever's going to happen on change, I believe that this will always be there. It's the rock that they can hold on to, the safety net that they believe in. Now in society, a lot of this is captured by belief, by religion. Whatever happens, I get married, I change jobs, I get a baby, maybe one of my parents dies. I know there is somebody out there talking about me or thinking about me. So whatever change happens on a daily basis, I have something I can believe in. That's what religion is. It gives you trust that it will be all right. In a company, that is the strategy and the vision and the mission. Or if you have a digital transformation project, you need to tell people, where are we going? So whatever you do, whatever you change, people know and trust that you will get to the destination. And they trust you that this will be there for you. So number one, create a goal and strategy for your change. The second one I just referred to is creating the motivation to change. It's like people are with their feet in cement. If I say move, they're not moving. You need to create a situation where you kind of destabilize the ground beneath their feet so that they're willing to reposition in the new normal. And that means making the current situation a bit more difficult. Because if you don't make it more difficult, think about the Skype implementation, people will not by default say, oh, I'm going to use Skype, I still have my phone, I'm going to use the new thing, because the new thing you have to learn how it works and the integration, and it might be might be easier, but they don't have the willingness to change, because the way they think, it looks easier because they know what it is, right? So two things. One, create a vision and a rock to hold on to. And two, you have to dare to change the status quo so that people reset and reposition in the new situation. That's very important. Okay. The two things that I'm going to put this away. The two things I'm not going to talk about is architecture and process. That's another. That is very important for IT people, but it's not something that we can discuss hours about this. The critical element for me is that the architecture and the process depends on the strategic intent and depends on what the customer want to do. One of the interesting elements I've seen is that, and I'm going to look where I put this, these pictures. These two. Usually we see marketing and IT discussing about what we need to do for digital transformation. You know why? Because the customer, society changes, and the first person in contact with the customer is marketing. And they say, oh, we need to do this. And then the CIO and marketing decide what are they going to do. If you think as a CIO you want to control that thing, the change, this is every product in the digital space that the marketeer can choose from. It is too much. So the only thing you can do is say, okay, this is your question. As a CIO, let's work together. What can I do? What can my processes and my architecture do? What do you want? And how can we get through this funnel together? It's not the CIO that says, okay, this is what I have, the discussion about cloud. How many times does digital transformation stop because people are afraid of cloud because they're afraid of security? It's like saying, I don't want to live because I'm going to die. That's the biggest, one of the biggest enemies, and that's not because it's IT, but it's because security is a big threat. And the pain always was bigger than the reward. For me, as a business professional, I think IT needs to be aware that they are supporting the business. You want to live, you want to jump out of an airplane with a parachute, not without a parachute. That would be crazy. That's why the IT guy is there and say, hey, wait a minute. I'll help you jump, but I'll give you a parachute. But you cannot stop evolving because there's a risk of threat. I can tell you one thing. I can tell you many things. But one thing I've seen recently is the following. This is security for IT, right? This is a problem. However, what about this? Hacking the CIA or This one. Hacking the FBI. How certain are you that whatever you do, you will stop other people from coming in? The chance of blocking anybody at all time is 0. Just as certain as you will die, there is a risk of hacking or security threats. So you can either live with it and say, okay, the business needs to go forward and we will do whatever we can to safely move along and evolve, but we cannot stop the business. In too many cases, whether it's unified collaboration or communication or transformation, people are not moving forward because of this. And there's about a 2-year, 18-month to 2-year gap between the US and Europe. And I have to say, maybe a little bit more in Germany because of security, about on-premise systems. And there's some good cultural background for that. But I just want to say that if you stay that way, you will suffer through your competitors moving in because they're moving faster. And that's a really important step on the matter. What am I doing on time? Excuse me? 2 minutes. Wow. Okay, so I am apologizing because I spoke too much and too long about stuff. Where's my page? 3 things that I think you need to be aware of. Mobile, APIs, and as I said, security I already tackled, I think. Mobile is interesting. Between 2013 and 2015, the desktop increase application was about 30%. Mobile increased 100%. Today, your first idea on working digitally should be mobile. Everything you do, you should always say, wait, what about mobile? How does that impact my business? I have a nice chart about that as well. And it's here. This is about the growth evolution between mobile and desktop applications. So 90% increase in 2 years versus only 50% and 16% on desktop application. So think mobile. And the last one is APIs. Now APIs, this is the biggest threat of APIs. Not invented here syndrome. People want to make everything themselves. The problem is, if you are alone, you cannot beat the others. Think about my page of marketing tools. If your marketing team says we can make it ourselves and there's 5,000 marketing tools outside, you will not win. You need to be open to accept digital transformation. This is the accelerated growth in technology. So if you're thinking that you're going to win the battle yourself, it is not going to happen. This is another example on new IT products in big data land. Big data is of course a big thing. These are the big data tools. So think about cloud, think about big data, think about artificial intelligence. Now's the time to get in artificial intelligence. But think about, and that's my last word, I know that I need to go. Please think about 2 things, and that's my giveaway. What's the strategy of your company? Why do you change? Are you going for customer intimacy, or for services, or for digital operation? And how is my company organized and learning and dealing with change management? The people will stop your evolution if you do not take them into account for your transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Ich darf Sie, meine Damen und Herren, jetzt direkt zum Polycom-Stand bitten. Wir machen mit den nächsten Live-Präsentationen weiter. 11:55 Uhr in wenigen Sekunden bei Polycom. Im Anschluss direkt Schur und Oblong. Viel Spaß damit. Dankeschön.